So you know how they renamed the Captain America movie?
Yep.
I think they should have renamed this. I think they should have renamed it to Flashpoint because Flashpoint is the overarching story.
Correct.
And to your point, if you can't use the main character, The Flash, Ezra Miller, as marketing, why the fuck is the movie called The Flash?
Right?
All right, welcome to Only Comics. Adrian, how we doing, dude?
We're doing great, man. Another beautiful week up here in New England.
Yep, you're back home?
Yeah, we're back home. Well, yes.
Home for now. So we got a fun show planned, I think. Last week we went over our Spider-Verse review. So if you haven't checked that out, go ahead and check that out on the main page. And if you watch us, you like what you hear, you see, please subscribe, hit the subscribe button, hit that little bell so you get notified when we drop new videos. But we got kind of, I guess, a new segment planned for this week, something we're going to start doing. And I was thinking about a name for this, Adrian. I'm white, you can tell, right?
A little bit.
A little bit. And you know when a white person is about to just like drop some facts on you, they go like, "Newsflash, buddy!" Like they newsflash, right? You ever heard them say that?
Yeah, I have.
You know when they say that, they're about to hit you with some shit, right? Some facts, or at least their opinion. So this is newsflash, buddy. We got some news, right? So we're gonna lay down our facts, or maybe our opinions, however you look at them. So we're gonna run through just some stuff that we've seen in comics news over the past week or so. One of the first things, I don't know if you saw this, but the new Captain America movie we talked about a few weeks ago, New World Order, they changed the name of it. It's now Captain America Brave New World instead of New World Order.
I missed that one.
And I don't know. I mean, I saw that. I don't know why. I don't know I know they already started filming, so it's a little odd for them to change the name like mid-filming. I don't know if the name didn't go over well or what, but so that's now Brave New World.
Okay.
Did you like New World Order over Brave New World, or does it even matter?
Well, in context, I think it matters. New World Order means people have associated that with government takeovers and supremacy and all these different things. So I think that was more of a political move.
Yeah.
I actually like Brave New World better based on that context.
Yeah.
Better than New World Order because of, what I said previously. It's I think it's just the public's opinion or about what New World Order means.
Yeah, because New World Order usually sounds like a bad thing. Like, hey,
absolutely,
like someone evil is taking over. Brave New World sounds like, hey, it's just, it doesn't sound as bad. It sounds, I guess, more on the good side. If I was
right. It's kind of like make America great again.
Exactly.
I mean, that sounds bad.
Yeah,
it's like,
it sounds bad.
Wait a minute. What are we talking about here?
Right.
Now, Brave New World is like everybody feels good about it. It's kind of a new beginning, which this one is.
Yep.
So I think it's appropriate.
Yeah, it's interesting though. Changed at that point, but I'm looking forward to that movie. It's Anthony Mackie playing Captain America for the first real time.
Right.
Next up, Secret Invasion. This show, they're putting a lot of marketing behind it over the past week or so. I saw a new trailer, and what one of the creators is describing this as a 6-episode movie.
Yeah, I saw that, which is pretty interesting. Not only are they talking about a 6-episode movie, they're also already talking about a second season.
Yeah.
Now, this is a series
Yeah.
that's going to be on Disney, not a movie.
Right.
So this is not going to be in theaters, right?
Nope.
So it's going to be a 6-episode series, and they're already talking about a season 2. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah. And I was always a fan of the Nick Fury character played by Samuel L. Jackson. I always loved his character.
Oh, absolutely. He has really solidified that character for himself.
Yeah.
I remember when David Hasselhoff played Nick Fury.
I've never watched. I've seen some pictures.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. But Sam Jackson that's his role now.
And I always thought it was cool the way he got the role. Like, Samuel Jackson don't play.
Right.
They Marvel. It was like because the original Nick Fury was a white dude with like he had like a little crop top haircut almost, some white on the sides or whatnot.
Right.
And then it was like, I forget what storyline they did this. It was an Ultimate comic or something like that where they drew him in Samuel Jackson's likeness. Mm-hmm. He found out afterwards, and they they discussed it. And he goes, "Hey, you can use my likeness as long as if you ever use that character in a movie, I'll play him."
Nice.
So he pulled a little move on them, a little swerve on them.
Cool.
Yeah. But so for this show, looks like we have it's shaping up to be a pretty, I guess, high-level Marvel show because of, number one, Samuel Jackson's in the starring role. But the supporting cast, we have Talos, the Skrull, who we saw, I think, in Captain Marvel for the first time. Ben Mendelsohn's character. Maria Hill's in this. Everett Ross is in this. And Rhodey's in this, too.
Right.
Now, do you think are we going to see just – because Rhodey, it's like he's like two characters, right? We see the Rhodey who kind of works with the government, because he was a military Air Force guy.
Yep.
And then you got Rhodey, War Machine. Do you think we're going to see full War Machine in this?
I would rather see War Machine than the military guy because the military guy politicizes the show. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we have enough of that. Right. This is about comics, is about superheroes. Great. I'm all for, great stories, but not a politicized story. It's too polarized.
Yeah, I hear you. I do hope we see full Rhodey or full War Machine at some point. They also said in one of the trailers, they're doing this whole trust no one. It seems like something big is going to happen in this series, and they've already teased that at least one or two main characters will die in this.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely not going to be Fury.
No.
So outside of that, I don't really care.
I feel like they can't kill Fury because we've already seen that several times. When he died in Winter Soldier and came back, and then he's been gone this whole time. We probably thought he was dead again. So I hope we don't see another Nick Fury dead. It won't hit the same, in my opinion.
Right, I agree. They can disappear him for a little while or keep it suspect if he does disappear in the movie, but they should always bring him back.
Yeah.
Interesting tidbit. They're supposed to bring back, I guess Emilia Clarke.
Yeah,
is supposed to play a character in this.
I heard that.
Gaia
I don't know what role she's
something.
Playing, though.
Gaia. Whatever that is in this thing. But since other Game of Thrones characters not characters, but actors haven't crossed over very well into comics, I'm interested to see how well she's going to be able to pull off whatever role she's going to be in, because that other girl as Storm was just horrible. Yeah. So I hope Emilia Clarke.
Oh, Jean Grey, you talking about?
Yeah, Jean Grey.
Yeah, Sophie Turner.
I hope Emilia Clarke's character pulls off her role better.
Yeah, I agree. Now, the Disney Plus description for this movie, they say that Nick Fury learns of an invasion, right, from the Skrulls, and he's working with Maria Hill and others to save humanity. So it does seem like it's going to be some major stakes. Now, I go back and forth on that. Like, I'm a huge fan, Adrian, of the more grounded stories.
Right.
And I feel like, that's what we're missing right now in the MCU. Like, the first couple of phases when they kicked this thing off with Iron Man and all these movies, they were grounded for comic movies.
Right.
Every movie was not the entire universe is about the end.
Right.
And I think that's where it's like, we were talking before this about these Fast and Furious movies. Like, that's where you lose me sometimes, where every story has to be, we have to save humanity. Mm-hmm. Why can't it be like, we just got to save this dude, or we just got to save myself, or this group of people, or like, that's why, I love the more grounded Spider-Man stories when he's the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man versus got to save the universe.
Well, with this, I would like to see, because when they introduced the Skrulls in the Captain Marvel movies, it was kind of, they were refugees.
Yeah.
And Skrulls were supposed to be evil.
Yeah, they were like
evil
villains
race
in
the comics. So, and now they have, Skrull Talos, the good guy, I guess, and Nick Fury is going to try to go and save the earth from, these evil Skrulls.
Right.
So I would like to see a backstory
on
the Skrulls themselves, and not, diluted with this mix of, my feelings and, Captain Marvel and all this other kind of crap.
Yeah.
So a nice, probably one episode dedicated to who the Skrulls are, where they came from, how did Talos separate from them, things like that.
Right. Which I think we'll get just based off of the fact how they're describing it as a 6-hour movie. So that, to me, that means the episodes are not going to be the same. Like She-Hulk was like episodic, where every episode was kind of self-contained.
Right.
And there was an overarching story, but they were pretty self-contained.
Yep. But
shows like the Captain America or the Falcon Winter Soldier one, that one felt like a long movie to me.
Right.
Loki felt like a long movie. WandaVision, so I think, and I hope along with you we get that. I'm curious though. Do you think so? Of these characters, Everett Ross, Maria Hill, Rhodey, they say 1 or 2 main characters are dying. Any predictions on who you think will die in this?
I'm thinking Talos.
Talos, yeah, I could see that. Talos, I'm wondering if I'd say Rhodey, but I feel like he's gonna serve like that void because he's like the Iron Man character now. So I don't know if we'd see him. I mean, Maria Hill's another one who. She's always been there. She's never really had never really had a story. I mean, she's always just kind of been, Fury's sidekick, which I always liked that. I forget the actress's name, but her portrayal was pretty good. But I could see maybe her. I agree. Maybe Talos, Maria Hill.
Well, there's also, Ben Kingsley character, Gravik. I mean, he's disposable.
True.
So,
True.
I mean, they consider these main characters. I mean, there's main character, then there's Nick Fury main character.
Right.
So, probably I'm thinking like the sidekicks, Talos, Maria Hill, this Gravik guy, maybe, dump Emilia Clarke before she even gets started.
Maybe, yeah. And, one of the things that we also hear in the trailer is Talos is kind of doing this voiceover and he's telling Nick Fury that it's getting worse. So and in the comics, I'm not the expert on the Secret Invasion story, but I understand that there's Skrulls here that are basically been impersonating different characters. What happened?
None.
Oh, basically there's Skrulls here that have been impersonating other comic characters. So I wonder if we're gonna find out that some of these characters we're used to seeing in other movies and series. Are they Skrulls, in disguise?
That would be an interesting take. That would be good.
Yeah,
I think that'd be good.
Because if you remember in Spider-Man: Far From Home, Nick Fury's in the movie several times, but at the end we find out it's Talos impersonating him.
Right.
So I wonder who else in this, main story. So, and this thing starts June 21st, so 2 weeks away, rolls through June 26th, so 6 weeks. So I'm looking forward to this, and we'll watch it. We'll break down the episodes weekly here as a segment. So got that. The other thing, there was some Spider-Man news. Obviously, Across the Spider-Verse came out last week. You can watch last week's show to get our review. I gave it a 9.5. I think, Adrian, you were saying 9.9.
Yep.
The Amy Pascal revealed that they were working on a live-action Miles movie. So after this, from what all the rumors so far have said, after the Spider-Verse is done, after the next Beyond the Spider-Verse movie, they're going to start working on live-action Miles, part of the MCU, which I think would be great.
Right. Not only a live-action Miles, but an animated Spider-Woman, which, I'm also, it's about time that she comes out as well.
Absolutely. Then there's the Madam Web. I don't know if you saw that, but that's another show they're talking, or a movie they're talking about doing.
Yeah, she. I think Spider-Woman is supposed to do a cameo or at least premiere in Madam Web, and then probably do a spinoff of her own.
Yeah, there's what I've heard so far is Dakota Johnson is playing Madam Web, and then Sydney Sweeney is supposed to play some Spider-Woman in this movie. Now, do you know anything about Madam Web?
I know the name.
Yeah.
Again, not it's some characters I skim over just because they're in the Spider-Man comics.
Yeah.
And then you don't follow them. So not much. I think doesn't she have like a mask over her entire face or something?
She has a mask. So what I've never read anything on her in the comics, but I did look her up when I saw this movie coming out, and I guess she's a paraplegic, blind telepath who's clairvoyant, and she's a mutant. That'll
make an interesting villain.
Yeah,
if she's a villain.
No, she's not a villain.
Okay.
Yeah. So she's on the Spider team, I guess.
Okay.
And then I did read this rumor. I kind of hope this part's not true, but supposedly there's a baby version of Peter Parker in this movie.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, so I heard that. Now they're saying this movie's not an action movie; it's more of a thriller. So it remains to be seen. But
a baby Peter Parker thriller movie. Nice.
Yeah, I can't wait for that, huh? Now here's the thing, though. Like Sony, all these licenses are weird. Like, right, Marvel owns a license to a handful of characters, but there was a time in like the '90s or even before that where they kind of leased them out to these other studios. That's why X-Men had Fox for so long. But Sony still technically has these Spider-Man rights.
Right.
So they're kind of stuck in this, like, they're shoehorned backed in this corner, I guess, where if they want to use these properties, they can, but they're not going to be connected to the main story.
Right.
So like we saw the couple Venom movies, which I saw them. They're okay. I don't think I ever finished the second one, and I could have gone without seeing them.
Right.
Now, like, is this going to fall under that same, in that same category where it's like, it's okay movie, but who really cares? It doesn't tie to the main story.
Well, considering, they're trying to make Flash as like, the best movie ever made.
Yeah.
There's no telling what these movies are going to end up being like. So, like somebody said, the directors and the movie makers, they can't tell us how great the movie is.
Mm-hmm.
We as a consumer have to tell them if it's a good movie or not. So we just have to wait and see.
Absolutely. That's a great point. So on the Flash note, speaking of this, now this wasn't really the studio telling this, but this was, the movie there's been some early premieres or whatever, a lot of feedback on the movie. Stephen King, of all people, says that, what did he say? He said that by rule, he doesn't care for superhero movies, okay? Mm-hmm. But this one he enjoyed. He said it was heartfelt, funny, and eye-popping. And then James Gunn, who now James Gunn's the studio because he's now running DC, right? So he's the Guardians of the Galaxy guy, but now he's over in DC running their deal. And he said this was probably one of the greatest superhero movies ever made.
Again, we'll dictate that.
Right.
Not we, you, and I, but the public once the movie comes out.
Yeah.
People are slighted. They can be paid under the table. There's all kind of reasons that they can say what they say.
Yeah.
But I mean, hey, maybe they will pull off the greatest movie ever. But Ezra Miller, I don't think so. So I'm actually going into this with a bias, and I probably should rethink this as I'm going into the movie, kind of clear my mind, because I don't want to make a particular actor the reason I like or don't like a movie.
Right. That
would be completely unfair. But we'll see. We'll see.
We'll see. We'll get back into the Flash, so we do want to do kind of our predictions for the movie. But in other, news flash, buddy, Wolverine versus Predator. Marvel is working on a comic, I guess, series with Wolverine versus Predator. Now, I've never read these Wolverine versus anyone. I know you mentioned Wolverine versus Wendigo when we were doing our, I think we were doing our favorite character episode, which that was a few episodes back. Great episode if you want to check that out if you haven't already. But they're looking, or they're working on right now a Marvel vs. Predator storyline through comics. And so far, what I've gathered from it is it looks like it's set over the course of many decades of Logan's life, where he fights Predator several different times.
Right. So when I first saw this, I was really excited about it. And then as I'm reading it, I'm like, oh, it's a comic.
You thought it was gonna be a movie or something?
At least some kind of animation.
Yeah,
it would be awesome if you can do like like a Japanese animation, Wolverine versus Predator, kind of like what they did with the. Have you seen the Japanese animation Iron Man?
No.
Oh, you gotta watch that. But I mean, this would be awesome as a highly detailed Japanese animation short. In that span. But I'm still excited to see, even in the comics, a Wolverine versus Predator. It's about time.
Yeah. Now, I don't know anything about Predator. You a fan of Predator?
I am. I've pretty much seen all the Predator movies.
Got it.
Pretty much seen all the Alien movies. There was even the hybrids. So it's pretty exciting stuff, I think.
So from a guy who knows both, who wins, Wolverine or Predator?
Well, it depends. There's like the regular Predator, then toward the end they started coming up with these super predators.
Got it.
Because the goal of Predator is to not only hunt the prime of each species.
Yeah.
They don't just go to Earth and hunt, humans, they go to other planets and they hunt the prime of whatever that species has to offer.
Got it.
But they also take the DNA from these species and they integrate them into themselves so that they become better predators.
Got it.
Which is how they came up with this super predator toward the end of the Predator movies.
Okay, so you're saying depends on if this is a predator that's kind of done that and evolved.
Correct.
Yep.
So if they get to this evolved predator, and Wolverine would definitely have some issues there. Now, but then because also if he wins, then they're going to take his DNA, Wolverine's DNA, and then they're going to evolve even beyond that.
That's what I was going to ask. Does Predator need to kill the person to take their DNA, or can he just take it in the fight?
They can just take it in the fight.
Okay.
They kill because it's a sport to them.
Got it.
That's they come back with the trophies. So that makes them the ultimate.
So technically, if this is set over many decades, the Predator could be getting stronger every time he fights Wolverine. Let's say Wolverine beats him the first time, but he could take some of his DNA, come back stronger.
Potentially, but I think they take the DNA and they spread it among all predators, not just that one individual.
That one. Okay. But what I like about it is it's not just like, we're going to see one fight with Wolverine versus Predator. They're going back to Wolverine's, whole story, his whole life, and we're going to see several times, almost like they're kind of retconning this in, which I think is interesting.
Kind of like what they did with Sabretooth.
Yeah.
About their mashup is like over like hundreds of years.
Right.
But this Predator thing is like probably decades, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But the idea is that they come back, they fight, they go back, they get stronger, they hone their skills, they meet up again, fight some kind of way, almost like Sabretooth taunting Wolverine every year for his birthday.
Yep. I love that. Well, that's our news flash, buddy, for the first week of our new segment. So we'll be doing this every week, just dig into whatever's going on in the news. But that leads us to one of our talking points this week. The Flash movie comes out June 16th, I believe. So this Thursday, Friday. It's funny now too. It's like I actually think there's theaters you can see these movies in on Wednesday. Like they just keep coming out earlier and earlier. It's like Black Friday. They just keep, Black Friday used to be one day.
Right.
Now it's like Black Friday month is here. Like I don't know, it doesn't work that way. Friday's a day. It can't be Black Friday month.
Right.
And now it's like the movie comes out the 16th, but you can go like on the 14th and see it somewhere. So I don't know when it comes out. It comes out this week at some point.
Right.
But I'm going to watch it. You gonna watch it this week?
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it. I there's a lot riding on this. All the hype. But I gotta get my mind right.
I hear you. But what's funny is, they are pumping some marketing dollars into this,
right.
As someone who's done market, like oh my God, it's everywhere.
Right.
But you brought up the Ezra Miller deal. When have you seen Ezra Miller as the center of any of these marketing pieces?
You have not.
Nope.
What they're saying is they are unable to use controversial lead standard Ezra Miller for marketing purposes. They are not promoting Flash as a character, which is why you see the Batman, the Superman, because they can't.
Right.
Because of this Ezra Miller dude.
I think so. You know how they renamed the Captain America movie?
Yep.
I think they should have renamed this. I think they should have renamed it to Flashpoint. Because Flashpoint is the overarching story.
Correct. And
to your point, if you can't use the main character, The Flash, Ezra Miller, as marketing, why the fuck is the movie called The Flash?
Right?
Hello?
I don't know. It's like you got a movie. That's why it's like, is it a Batman movie? Is it a Flash movie?
Yeah.
Is it a Superman movie? It's like they're doing everything but making it a Flash movie. So I agree, it should be the
Flashpoint, yeah.
Because that's the overarching thing. Simply because they can't promote the main character.
Right.
It's like make it Gotham City because you can't promote the Batman.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, but yeah, they definitely. I mean, I shouldn't say they because they didn't make Ezra Miller go out and do things that Ezra did, but they're backed into a corner with this because, like you said, there's a lot riding on this. This movie to me is that transition point from the DCEU, all the Snyderverse and all that stuff that didn't go over so well. And this is that transition to the DCU, these new movies, this new 10-year plan that James Gunn has and his whole crew. So there is a lot riding on this.
Right. They're trying to make this as, one of the best movies since Wonder Woman and Zack Snyder's version of the Justice League. So it's a lot of hype, and I think throwing politics in here, they're hyping it up to actually cover the Ezra Miller stuff.
Yeah.
They're making it bigger than life because they can't focus on the main character.
Right. Well, yeah, because if you think back to like some of these big Avengers movies, they were just Avengers movies.
Right.
It didn't matter, and they didn't have to deal with anyone's, off-screen issues. But let's say Robert Downey Jr. got into some trouble or Josh Brolin. It wouldn't have mattered because it was just Avengers. Total.
Right.
It was not focused on one character.
Well, Avengers is a little different because they're a team.
Right.
And there's so many in it. And, Avengers come and go. You have the main characters, the founders per se.
Right.
Iron Man, Captain America, things like that. So it's a little different than having an Iron Man movie. So, like, if you have an Iron Man movie and then Robert Downey Jr. got in trouble, let's be fair, again.
Right, true.
Because Robert Downey Jr. had some issues back in his day.
Yeah.
Breakfast Club kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, he wanted to take himself out. I mean, he really went into a hole. However, the difference between what he did and what Ezra Miller is doing is, he took responsibility for himself.
Right.
And he was self-destructive.
Yes.
It appears Ezra Miller is more endangering other people, kind of a deal. So it's a little different. So people get in trouble. Ideally, they work their way through it. They redeem themselves, so on and so forth. That just doesn't seem to be the trend that Ezra Miller is following,
right? And
which is why they're distancing him. Which is also, but again, Avengers, one or two people get in trouble, cool. You can kind of smooth it over.
It's bad,
but Ben Affleck as the Batman gets in trouble, that affects the whole movie.
Right.
Robert Downey Jr. get in trouble as the Iron Man, that affects the whole movie. Right. So, single player versus team playing.
Yeah. So it makes sense the way they're marketing. Now, it's interesting. You brought up the Iron Man movie. And if you remember at the time, it was a big risk for them to even have Robert Downey Jr. in this movie. Right. Now, comic book movies were not what they were or what they are now.
Absolutely.
No one expected these to be billion-dollar films. It was just, hey, if we can make a little money off this, trust me, this whole universe was not planned with the Iron Man movie.
Right.
But that was like Robert Downey Jr.'s redemption.
Right. Absolutely.
He came out on the other side of it, and now he is who he is. I mean, he's been the cornerstone of the first phase or the first saga. Mm-hmm. Now, this could. Do you think this could potentially, if Ezra plays his cards right, could this do the same for him? If this movie succeeds, from what I hear, he does a great job in the roles that he plays or whatnot. But could this movie be for Ezra Miller what Iron Man was for Robert Downey Jr.?
It is possible, I think. I just don't believe that he is willing to do the redemption part. So if he does the redemption part after the fact, absolutely. Not only would it be a great reboot for Ezra Miller, it'll be a reboot for DC, who has historically made somber, darkened movies that just didn't compete at the level that the Marvel movies made.
Yeah.
So it could be for the both of them,
right?
Which I'm interested. Even Rotten Apples has put them up at Rotten Tomatoes.
Right.
Rotten, not Rotten
I like that. Right. We'll just start our own.
Rotten Apples.
Yeah.
Rotten Tomatoes got them up at 72%, which is huge.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering how that spins. But yeah, it could be redemptive not only for the actor Miller, but also for DC.
Because I also saw a rumor about a week ago where they're saying that this movie's so good they're already talking about a sequel. Well, if there's a sequel, I'd imagine Ezra needs to be involved, right?
Well, not necessarily, because right underneath these articles, there's like the 10 people that could replace Ezra Miller, But unfortunately, I think the Flash character has been typecast in the Ezra Miller image.
Yeah. Because
most of the actors that could replace him kind of look like Ezra Miller.
Yeah.
Which is disturbing.
That's true. You think about Flash, I've not read a ton of Flash comics, but to me, the Flash in the comics is more of an adult, more of a he's a bigger, stronger guy. And then in what we've seen so far in most depictions in movie and in some of these series, it's like they're trying to make him their Peter Parker.
Right. the Flash character, when you look at the comics historically, he's a taller guy.
Yeah.
He's not incredibly skinny. He's muscular, kind of medium build.
Yeah.
But he's not a geek. He doesn't really stumble. I mean, he's a forensic scientist.
Right.
Right. So he's obviously intelligent. So I actually the character that plays the actor that plays Flash in the TV series,
Yeah.
which I think is on his 10th
CW
year
or something.
Yeah, CW.
Yeah.
That's a pretty much perfect example of the idea of Flash.
Got it.
Ezra Miller is like a short, kind of weird. You're right. They're trying to make him awkward, like a Peter Parker, which he is not.
You'll say I don't remember Flash being that funny in the comics. Like, I know he throws little one-liners as he's running by people, stuff like. But I don't remember him having that Spider-Man-esque humor.
Correct.
So but hey, a lot riding on this film. I agree, DCU. And it's funny, like we talked about it earlier in our news flash, Stephen King and James Gunn. Like, first of all, do you give a shit about Stephen King's opinion of comic book movies?
No.
No. I mean, Stephen King has fucked up opinions about movies that were made of his books. Like, he didn't like The Shining.
Right.
Like, The Shining was a great movie, but he didn't like because it wasn't true to his book, I guess.
It's almost like, these people that aren't quite dead yet, they pop up in up and coming movies or just to have an opinion so that people are like, oh, Stephen King, he's still alive?
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, no, I don't care about his opinion. Again, James Gunn is a studio talking, so I can't take his opinion seriously. Right. My son saw it. So I tell you, my son saw this movie early.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, my 13-year-old, his girlfriend's dad's in the Navy, and they had a special screening or whatever, and he saw it. So,
okay.
Now I thought he was lying to me. He was like, "We're going to see The Flash." This is like a few weeks ago. I'm like, "There's no way you're going to see The Flash. The Flash comes out, like, I do a podcast about this stuff. It comes out the June 24th. I know this, or June 16th." He's like, "No, it's The Flash," and they had a special screening. He said it was good. Now, it was the same day that we saw Across the Spider-Verse. So I asked him which one was better, and he said Spider-Man, which was not a shock. So,
right.
So my son says it's good. I take his opinion over James Gunner.
Right.
But we'll see. Now, if you had to predict, I guess what do you think you're going to give this movie for a score next week?
Well, it's interesting that that your son saw it. He said it's good. So we're talking 3 generations right here. Right?
Yeah.
So me, you, your son. So, assuming that I can take off this biased impression that I have,
you got a few days
about the actor, I got a couple days. I'm thinking it's going to be entertaining.
Yeah.
I think I can probably get through the movie without walking out.
Yep.
I'm predicting probably a 7, maybe 7.5.
Okay. I'm gonna say. Let me see. I think you're. If you've not picked up on this watching our shows, you're more critical than I am. I think usually
because I'm thinking about comics from 35, 40 years ago.
True.
I have a lot of history with the origins of these people, and you kind of build up in your head about how they should act, how they should look, things like that. And I don't think they've done a very good job of, in some cases, of transitioning characters from pages to the big screen.
Yeah, got it. And are you more of a, like, 'cause, there's all kinds of comic fans. Some people believe that what they see on screen should really follow the comics closely, right? And some of us, like, I probably don't fall there as long as it's good, though.
Right.
Like, if you're going to change something, make the changes make sense and have it be good. So I'm not a stickler for, well, that's not how exactly what happened in comics. Right. I think some of the MCU's best stories were comics they found or stories from the comics that they tweaked. Like Civil War on screen is very different than the Civil War comic.
Right.
The premise is similar, but I do think that the one on the screen was better than the one in the comics.
Well, I am a diehard comic book person, when it comes to what they should and should be doing.
Yeah.
But I do like adaptation.
Yeah.
But the only thing I would say is convince me.
Right.
That's all I want you to do. Give me a good story and convince me. Because when they, the Black Human Torch not working for me because they couldn't convince me.
Got it.
The adaptation of Jason Momoa to Aquaman, loved it.
Right. But it's very different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, I'm not going to say that's crazy. You can't do that, blah, 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 blah. I might at first glance be like, that's kind of crazy, but convince me. That's all I'm asking.
So you're not as much of a stickler as some people. So you're saying, you said 7.5 is what you think?
6.57.
6.57.
Whatever I said previously, 6.5 or 7.
6.57. Okay. I'm going to say, I'm going to go 6.8. I think I'm going to give it.
Okay.
I have a feeling. I'm not incredibly high on this. And I guess to talk about some of my issues. I mean, forget Ezra Miller shit. I can get past the Ezra Miller stuff, like whatever. I mean, I'm able to watch it and understand that, whatever happened off the screen, I can enjoy this movie for the next 2 hours. So I'm not hung up on that as much. The thing I'm more hung up on is, why the hell is Michael Keaton the main focus of this movie? I love the original Batman. We've talked about that before. Batman '89, Batman Returns, one of my favorite movies of all time. But my man is, we looked it up before. He's what, 71?
Right.
He's 71 and he's Batman, and he is more athletic, more acrobatic, more agile in the freaking trailer for this one movie than he was in the first two Batman movies, and those were 30 years ago.
So you're going into this movie with a bias.
I am. I am a different bias.
So my bias is going to be Ezra Miller. Yep. Your bias is going to be Michael
Grandpa Keaton. Yep. I'm just going, I mean, dude, those suits are heavy, right? How the fuck did he put that shit on and not like break his back?
Well, listen, I got this whole thing about why they trying to put all these, and it's probably because comics have become so popular. Yeah. And Sam Jackson has just nailed it that all these old, skeletons coming out the closet, and wanting to be in comic book movies to make themselves relevant. Yeah. Whatever. There's so many other people that can play these characters. Yeah. I don't think they need to rehash, these ancient dudes.
No. And at least like to your Sam Jackson, but his character he plays, he's not the strongest guy. He's not the most, the best fighter. He's more of in the shadows, like a director type figure.
He's a spy. Yeah. I mean, he's a spy with access to tech, but he doesn't do anything. He doesn't have a suit. Right. He doesn't, he has gadgets to get him out of stuff mostly. Yeah. I mean, I don't recall seeing him going out and being, donning something or even pulling a weapon that would allow him to become a super. No. He just protects stuff, kills stuff, and protect himself. That's it. Absolutely. So that makes him relevant as opposed to a Harrison Ford playing the Red Hulk. Come on. Yeah. Or Michael Keaton, doing acrobats and twisting and
I think I can get there with the Red Hulk over the Michael Keaton, because if we're we're thinking about the comic book, yes, he's an old guy, but once the Hulk turns on, he's the Hulk. So I can go there quicker than I can go, this 71-year-old Bruce Wayne is jumping out of airplanes and taking out 3 or 4 guys at a time. Like, really, old man? Like, did you take your pills this morning? Like, don't you have a doctor's appointment or something? Like, come on, bro.
Careful now. You're gonna rile up these old people, dude.
I know, right? Well, dude, hey, someone asked in the comments, they said he actually bleached his beard. I'm like, Adrian, let's settle that right now. Did you bleach your beard?
I did not bleach my beard. I got this luscious mane the old-fashioned way. Stress.
From these damn movies that y'all keep making and screwing them up now.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, but the thing that we're not hearing a ton about is there's 2 Batman in this movie. You got Michael Keaton and then the Ben Affleck. So I did see an article the other day where they talked about how well Ben Affleck portrayed Batman in this movie, and I guess it was a really not a send-off, but I guess he got his shine a little bit in this movie.
You're right. I mean, I've seen him more in the Dunkin' Donut commercials than I have seen, cameos of him in these previews. But, for whatever reason, cool. He can, go tend to his marriage, whatever. Yeah. I think he played a pretty good Batman. I don't think he got the props that other actors have in that role, but I also don't think that DC did a very good job of not promoting him. Action sequences, right. I just don't. They didn't do a good job of a Ben Affleck Batman the way they did in the 80s with the Michael Keaton Batman.
Yeah, like they gave him shit to work with. I mean, he looked the part. I think he portrayed Bruce Wayne great in the scenes, when he was Bruce Wayne. I mean, he looks like Bruce Wayne from the comics. Yep. He's a bigger guy. Yep. You know, that makes sense too. And then I like that he played that kind of old, like he played the older Batman. Like, right. I mean, Ben Affleck's what, in his 50s?
Yep.
That's the kind of older Batman I'm looking for. Because usually Batman's 25, 30 years old.
Right.
I don't remember seeing in the comics a 71-year-old Batman.
Yeah.
And again, I love Michael Keaton. I think he's great. He's a great actor.
Right.
I love the Batman character. I mean, Batman's my number one character. But so yeah, I don't know. I'm going into this like, yeah, I do have a bias. I have a sorry for y'all watching. I have an old people bias about this movie.
Hey, why don't they just do a Batman multiverse and bring back George Clooney too? You know?
Might as well. Val Kilmer. I mean, Adam West is dead, but they recreate stuff with CGI. Bring him back into it too. We'll have an 85-year-old Batman while we're at it. He'll come in his bat wheelchair and shit. Fuck it at this point. But yeah, so Rotten Tomatoes says 72%. I think I'm gonna score it a little lower than that. But I am looking forward to it. I do think it'll be fun. It'll be a fun movie.
I think it'll be. I'm also looking forward to it just to even quiet my own thoughts about this stuff. I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be some level of entertainment. I'll probably sneak in the way I normally do, probably toward the middle of the day.
Yeah.
And but I also expect to see like the Marvel movies. I expect to see older people, like my age, watching the movies, which I found surprising, but I actually expect to see that now.
Yep. Yeah, it's cool. I mean, you think about there's a lot of people your age, my age, that grew up on this stuff. Right. Now we're adults, and now, like, I remember being a kid, Adrian, in like elementary school, talking about this stuff, with your friends at recess and stuff. Like, yo, imagine if they can make real movies with real people, like the comics. Like, we would talk about this, and now as an adult, it's here. So it is cool to see the different, and it's funny because there's been some critique lately about like the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse with this whole, representation. Even some of the comments on our videos last week, we were talking about the pregnant Spider-Woman, which I'm not a fan of. And then someone gets in the comments and is like, well, that's just the representation that we're forced to with every movie, and the black and the Hispanic and the gay and the trans and all this stuff. I'm like, dude, like, well, slow down. First of all,
it's child endangerment. That's
the only point.
That's how we're looking at it. Not that we don't like the character.
Yeah,
the character is great. She kicked ass.
Right.
But when she gets slammed into a bus,
she's still
9 months pregnant. That's a bit of an issue for me.
But I've never had it. So I've never had an issue with representation in comic. Like, the way I look at it is, comic books are a reflection of what's happening in the real world, but there's just some fantasy put in, right? There's no real mutants, like, so you get tired of representation, dude. You're in then find another genre. Do something else. I mean, the X-Men, Stan Lee created X-Men to be analogous to the whole civil rights movement.
Right.
So there's been representation in comics for several years. It's not as broad and as good as it is now. And then my thing is like this, like, so say you don't like one of these groups that are represented, whatever your political, but we're not going to get into this on this podcast, but say you don't like that. Dude, do you like bananas?
Yeah.
Did you know that I hate bananas?
I did not know that.
I absolutely hate them, right? So let's say, Adrian, me and you, we're going to a picnic, right? And our job, we get we draw straws, and me and you have to put together a fruit platter. And you go, I want to have some bananas on it.
Right.
It's just a platter. Should I be upset that you're putting bananas on it? No. Why should I care?
You don't have to eat them.
I don't have to eat them.
You don't even have to get anything from that side of the tray that the bananas touch.
Exactly.
But we're in this together. So you eat yours and I'll eat mine.
So I go, Adrian, you're in charge of adding the bananas. I ain't gonna mess with those. I like apples, watermelons, great. We got this whole big platter, and then we bring it to the picnic, and I want to have some. Should I walk up and be like, I'm so tired of the representation in this fruit platter. Like, why do they have bananas in here? I don't give a shit. You know what you can do if you don't like the representation of that one person, that group? Don't focus on it in the movie.
More importantly, don't try to convince other people of how you think about the representation.
Absolutely. Who cares? Like, there was, supposedly in one of Gwen Stacy's scenes, there was a trans flag in the back that few people have an issue with. First of all, I didn't even notice it.
Nor did I. I mean, I see a lot of stuff. Yeah. I mean, there was a lot to look at in this movie. I did not see anything that would represent any specific anybody.
Right. And guess what? If I did, I don't care.
Right.
Whatever you do in your house, don't affect me. Whatever you like doesn't affect me. I don't give a shit.
All right, so moving on, so
Yeah.
we don't go down this political.
Absolutely. good catch. But yeah, so no, I'm all for it. Across the Spider-Verse. I mean, we saw it last week.
Right.
We ranked that movie, and like I said, 9.5, 9.9. I mean, still a week later, I haven't gone to see it again yet. I want to. Problem is, there's just so much stuff out right now.
Yeah. I think the next time I go, I'm gonna take my grandson.
Yeah.
We'll go and watch it. And actually, he's not really even into comics.
Really?
Yeah. He's just saying, I'm like, hey, you want to go see that? Okay.
And he's what, 10?
12.
12, yeah.
12.
Which is funny because, like you said, most of the audience when you went were adults.
Right.
So it's like your grandson almost wants no part of it, but here we are, adult, which is awesome.
Right.
But yeah, so I mean, and we talked a lot about what the spinoffs are going to look like there. I did, the next one, Beyond the Spider-Verse, comes out in March of next year. So far, we've not seen any previews or any much rumors about that yet. I do double down on my statement last week, and you were kind of on the fence about this, but I do think that Miguel O'Hara is going to be a major villain in the next one. I think we're going to learn that a lot of the stuff that we're seeing or what he's telling us in this movie is a lie. You have any thoughts on that after seeing this over a week ago?
I'm just excited that the first movie was as good as it was.
Yeah.
I like to be surprised, so I'll just wait. I'm not gonna take up space in my mind about what could be regarding that because it's so far out. And I actually like that they haven't already started talking about the second part of it. Let them ride the wave of the success of this one, and then probably in the fall let's start discussing the next one. So I'm ready for the surprise, whatever it is.
Got it. And I think it was bold to end on that major cliffhanger. Like, this is I mean, I know you said there was a lot of adults, but still they're making these movies geared towards younger audiences, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's animation, it's Spider-Man, and I think it's very bold of them to end a movie like that on that major cliffhanger because you could lose some people. Some people could walk out of it upset.
Right. I think they understand that younger people, they're used to consuming more content at one time.
Yeah. So
they can accept or deal with more stuff. So that cliffhanger had a lot in it.
Yeah.
But, based on how well the movie has done, I think people are cool with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the movie's kicking ass. I mean, it's overseas here, everywhere. So anyway, last thing. Franklin Richards. So you brought this up. We did a deep dive into a bunch of characters a few weeks ago, and then you had posed the question. Actually, no, this was in the episode where we went over our X-Men movies. We ranked our X-Men movies, and you posed a question who we thought the most powerful comic book characters were. Right. So we had a handful of answers. We even asked ChatGPT to chime in a little bit. Right. But you brought up this character, Franklin Richards. Mm-hmm. I'd never heard of him. Mm-hmm. And he is the son of Sue Storm and, Invisible Woman and Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards. And, you sent me a video where I guess a guy posed a question, what characters would be too strong for the MCU? And this guy comes up. Right. And I did a little bit of a dive into the character yesterday, and he reminded me a lot of Legion, Professor X's son. Yep. Just the power level or whatnot, but this dude is above an Omega level, mutant, right? And I'll let you kind of dig because this is you know this guy, but one of the things that a lot of it was interesting to me, but the fact that this kid was creating pocket universes like in his room, right? Like that was crazy, right?
So Franklin Richards, before he was even born, was basically sapping the power from his mother, right? Yeah. Kind of like obviously. Children before they're born, they get their nutrients from their mother. Yeah. Well, he was like killing her, so they had to go into a negative zone to get this rod, this antimatter rod, in order to come back and like be able to siphon that energy off, so that he can actually be born and not kill his mother in the process. So even from birth, this dude was like Omega level, right? He's in his bedroom, probably 6 or 7 years old, creating pocket universes. Not only is he creating pocket universes, he's creating life inside of those universes. Yeah. So much to the point where his father had to put locks in his mind, right? So that he didn't go too far because he's a child. Yeah. So his future self comes back and teaches him how to, like, every day they're creating these different universes.
Yeah.
And they would go into these universes and learn different things. So not only he's above Omega level.
Yeah.
Not the God level, kind of, right? So when we rate characters, we take out the things that are kind of like impressions of existing things, like, God, the devil, Santa Claus, things like that. So these are completely made up characters, and he's not really a mutant.
Right.
People thought he was a mutant because he wanted to, as a child, to become a mutant so bad, he actually changed his own DNA.
He turned himself into a mutant.
Exactly.
Wow.
So they kind of explained that later on, in Marvel. And also he's so powerful that, some people say that he is the reason why these characters don't even age, which you kind of explain, like, why is Peter Parker still 16 or whatever. Well, Franklin Richards, like, kept everybody at that age over 40 and 50 years.
Wow.
So this dude is just out there. He can pretty much do anything that he wants.
Yeah. And we've never seen him on screen. Now, do you agree the video that you had sent me said that he's too powerful? Now, do you agree that this character is too powerful to ever be in the MCU?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if they brought him out as a child and made his eyes glow or something like that, kind of an intro into the Franklin Richard, but I don't think that, because they did such a horrible job with Jean Grey and the Phoenix Force, which her character is really below his by a lot. Yeah. Even though she's cosmic level, Omega level, I don't think they could showcase him. I don't think they could portray him properly at the power level that he actually is.
Yeah. See, because that's the kind of stuff, we were talking earlier about, does it need to be true to the comics and all that. These things matter more to me. Like in the Dark Phoenix movie, her power set is so up and down. Right. In some scenes, she's killing people like this, and others, like, she can't do anything. Like, I agree. They've not yet depicted Dark Phoenix properly in a live action set. Right. Which, to that point, a character like Franklin Richards, they would either have to nerf the shit out of him and really remove a lot of these comic abilities that you talked about, or there's no way to really portray that on screen.
Now, he could do like a cameo.
Yeah.
Where he does something. I would skip the child part. Yeah. Probably do like a little, how he became or whatever. But he could do like a cameo where he does something at an Omega level. Yeah. And then just go away. Kind of like appear like the Spectre, and then kind of go away, but not make a movie around him. Right. I think it would be too much. I mean, they can't really portray Superman, who's been in movies for decades. Yeah. They can't even portray his power properly. Right.
Right. And we saw it with, think about MCU and top level or powerful characters, Vision. Right. Vision, when they introduced him in Age of Ultron, he was like the most powerful being in that movie. Mm-hmm. And then they nerfed him. Because we see him in Infinity War. Like, you mean to tell me that the same Vision from Age of Ultron isn't going to see this guy coming behind him with, like, one little, knife? Right. I mean, whatever it was a scepter or something, but he stabs him one time and now he's almost dying?
Well, it's kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy. The dude, for some reason, jumps out in space to get a freaking podcast machine without all of his gear. It's just convenience. Right. Makes the movie digestible, yes, but not understandable. It's like, why did you do that?
I call it
no sense whatsoever.
I call it lazy writing, in my opinion.
There you go.
But yeah, Franklin Richards. Now, what's interesting though is they have announced the Fantastic Four movie in the MCU that I don't know what year, probably 3 years from now or something like that. But you mentioned this earlier, and I agree. I don't think we've seen the Fantastic Four done properly.
Absolutely not. I can't even think of. They definitely just messed up the thing. Yeah. In all versions of the Fantastic Four, the Johnny Storm thing, Sue and Mr. Fantastic. I think they did some good character casting with those, but outside of that, and then the movie line, but I hope they do because they were Mr. Fantastic was like a father figure to me when I was growing up. Yeah. Kind of a deal. So it's important to me that they get that right.
That's gotta suck though, right? Like he's one of your favorite characters.
Right.
And you probably were excited when you heard about the movies, and then you go to see them, and you're like, "Oh shit, really?"
Right. Yeah, this is garbage at even the basic level.
Yeah.
You know, back when they messed up the Hulk CGI.
Yes. Yep. Because they did two. Well, there's 3 Fantastic Four movies, right? There's the first 2 that are connected, and that was the one where Jessica Alba plays
Sue Storm.
Sue Storm. Yep. Now I didn't hate those movies. I never saw the newer one. I heard the newer one was horrific. The one where Michael B. Jordan is Human Torch.
Right.
Were the first 2 better than that second one in your opinion?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I don't remember those that vividly, but I feel like there's such a major opportunity with, like, Marvel's heading into an interesting spot, and we're probably talking 5-10 years from now, but they got Fantastic Four and X-Men, who they're going to introduce at some point.
Right.
Fantastic Four has never been done properly. X-Men, I say they did a pretty good job, Fox did at the time, but we've not got to see them depicted the way we see the MCU now. But like with Franklin Richards, there's also a rabbit hole you can go down with Kang the Conqueror that ties back to the same family. So Kang, there's a variant of Kang that is actually a descendant of Reed Richards that goes back in time to like Egypt, to where Apocalypse was like the first mutant or whatnot, steals some power from there, and then basically starts time hopping. And he's time hopping, he's hopping through the multiverse and finding, certain tech from certain universes and bring them back to other versions of himself. But the overall point is he's also from this Richards bloodline. So like this, you Reed Richards, Franklin Richards, and then Nathaniel Richards, who is Kang. I mean, there's a lot of power in that Richards bloodline. There would be really cool things that they could do with this whole character Fantastic Four on screen.
Yeah, I just again, I'm about the story.
Yeah.
They don't do a very good job of picking the right actors to do the characters the way they did in the Avengers, Iron Man, things like that. So I hope they rip a page out of the Avengers playbook and the Spider-Man playbook to revamp the X-Men even and the Fantastic Four. So I don't care how they what the power is, the villain is, so on and so forth. Just make it a good story.
Yeah.
And if you do something off being out of character from the comics, just convince me.
Right.
That's all I care about.
Speaking of characters in Fantastic Four, Galactus is a big villain in Fantastic Four. We've not seen him yet on screen.
Another person or character that's almost too powerful to be on its own. Don't make a storyline.
Yeah.
Galactus is like one of those characters where we already know. He's like in a way, Galactus, Nick Fury, I don't want to know where they came from.
Right.
They're just so badass when they show up on the scene.
Yes.
Make their history a mystery.
Yep.
But when you do present them, make it an absolutely make it a scene that empowers whoever they are, and then get them out the way.
Right.
Because you can't extend their power scenes. They're off the scale.
Right.
They're off the scale. You can't do it.
Or you'll end up with something like the Apocalypse that we saw in the X-Men movie.
Oh my God. He was like what, 5'7", 5'8", or something. At least it looked like it.
We got the midget Apocalypse.
They just completely underrated him, which was sad. You know, the makeup was bad. You know, his powers was bad. Just bad.
And I know that you're not going to find a character that always look like we talked about Ben Affleck embodying the Bruce Wayne character.
Right.
Oscar Isaac looks nothing like Apocalypse.
Right.
It was not, first of all, not a good cast. Oscar Isaac's a great actor. I mean, he's Miguel O'Hara in the Spider-Verse. He plays Moon Knight. Great job there.
Right.
But to me, that was a wrong choice for that character.
Right.
And it should have created the character the same way they did Thanos, with CGI, a bigger, much bigger version, a much bigger character than everyone around him.
Right. Right. I still can't get past like the second Moon Knight, dude.
No,
I can't do it. He's supposed to be like the Egyptian Batman or something.
Yeah.
And I
like the series. It is slow moving. You do got to get through the first few episodes, but I thought it was a pretty cool series.
I'd be interested to see, so in England they have a Captain Britain.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if they ever gonna do a crossover with that. That'd be interesting.
That'd be cool.
So he's supposed to be like the English Captain America.
Yeah.
You know, so we'll see.
That'll be cool. But back to the Franklin Richards Galactus, there's also I read this part where Franklin basically resurrects a dead Galactus, like gives him his power back.
Yeah. The Celestials, I think, killed Galactus, and this dude Franklin Richards is so powerful. He resurrected Galactus and made Galactus his hero, because if you know Galactus, he doesn't spend the energy roaming around hunting because he's a planet eater. Right. So he creates these heralds to go out and find planets suitable for him to consume. So he creates heralds to go out. And so Reed Richards did that to Galactus. Now, I mean, that's power.
Yeah.
That's power. That's not an omega level power. That's an above mega level power.
So I think after all that being said, I think I agree with the video you sent me. I don't think that they could have this character in the MCU as the MCU is right now. I don't. I think they'd have to change. We'd have to get there. They have to change a lot to get there.
Right.
All right. Well, dude, that's it this week. That we got our new segment, Newsflash. We went through handful of stuff. We appreciate everybody joining us. Next week we will review The Flash.
Yep.
Or let's maybe do they still have time to rename it? Could they just rename it Flashpoint or something?
I'll just change the title. It doesn't matter. We know it's The Flash.
Change it to Batman and the Flash or
there
something like that. But no, I am looking forward to see. I think it'll be a good time. We'll have some fun reviewing it next week. But guys, we appreciate it, all the interaction, the feedback. Hit the subscribe button. Let us know what you think. And we appreciate the fun in the comments. And that's the thing about, like, I don't take any of it serious. Like, someone called me Seth Rogen. I think it's funny. It's great. I am bald. You're right. 100%.
That is funny, though.
Yeah, it is funny. I'm never going to use Rogaine, though. I'm just going to keep shaving my head.
Hey,
so.
there you go.
But it's all in good fun. And, I mean, our one rule. It's only comics. The only thing we're going to talk about is comics. So, Adrian, appreciate you coming in.
Always.
Glad to have you back in the studio.
Yep.
And, guys, thanks for watching, downloading. As always, we'll be here next week. Only comics. We'll see you.